all the unique characters.
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm saying? Yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legacy.
All the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
IO.
OH.
IO.
OH.
IO.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 113 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. This episode marks back-to-back weeks that I'll be joined by a new amateur champion in mixed martial arts. This fighter has won 4 fights in a row, all by submission. His latest win was at Ohio Combat League 36, where he won the promotion's Middleweight Championship. It's yet another prospect from Ronin Training Center. It's Mark Man of Faith Trifelos. Thanks for coming on the show, Mark, and welcome to Forged in Ohio.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, I'm happy to get you on the show, and let's start with Ohio Combat League 36 on March 1st, the stage where you won your first amateur MMA championship. Have you come back down to earth yet, or are you still on cloud 9 after that type of performance?
Yeah, man, I always try to stay at equilibrium no matter what happens. You know, I know that if you get too high up there, then the crash is pretty heavy. And, I mean, at the end of the day, I know that the victory comes from the Lord. And so I try to never, let this get me proud or anything. I'm just thankful for the experience. I'm thankful for the opportunity. And I just get right back to work after.
Yeah, OCL 36 obviously was a part of the Arnold Sports Festival. You main evented the amateur side of the card. And, of course, it was your first title fight. Did the stage ever get to you, or were you locked in throughout fight week and on fight day?
The stage never got to me at all. I mean, I have a tremendous faith in the Lord, and, I've never feared another man in my entire life. We definitely prepared very hard for this fight, knowing that Brody is tough competition. He's a tough dude. Knocked the dude out, I think, in like 6 seconds in one fight. So, we gave everything we could to this fight camp, but just stayed locked in the whole time and really just had a lot of gratitude going in there and stayed focused, went out and did our thing.
Your opponent, Brody Rutledge, I've had him on the show before. He was 3-0 with 3 first-round finishes going into that night. What did you think of Brody, his game, and that matchup when it was presented to you?
I was excited for it. I knew that I needed an opponent like this. Like I said, I know he's a tough guy. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's going to go very far in this sport. We knew he had hands. And I was willing to go in there and stand and trade. I was looking forward to that. But we also had the game plan of, if he exposes his body and I can get a hold of him, that's kind of my bread and butter. So, if it's there, I'm going to take it. And I set up with a body shot, took a step back, and then I knew he was going to come swinging. So I just ducked it and grabbed a body lock, tripped him, which is something we've been working, the entire time I've been at Ronin, but especially for this fight, knowing that he was going to kind of leap forward after I set up a body shot. And it really just worked exactly as we planned.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that game plan, knowing that Brody's very skilled on the feet. You're obviously very skilled on the ground and wrapping up these type of chokes that you have in your career. Just when you do get these fights to the ground, is it almost inevitable? I'm not sure if that's the right word, but is it inevitable to where you are going to get that fight finished?
I like to believe so. I mean, I know that with my collegiate wrestling background and, just with my pressure that I've developed over time, that it's pretty hard to get away. And I see the fruit of that in our room. I mean, I train with killers all the time. Ronin has a bunch of killers. And I'm very confident in my ground game. And I know, too, that when I get a hold of you like that, if I get your back, get the boots in, and I'm anywhere near your neck, like, I'm not going anywhere. Like this fight's going to be stopped soon. So, yeah, I mean, the answer is yes, humbly.
That was the first time we had seen you in an MMA setting in about 7 months. Were you at all worried about how you'd feel in there? Were you confident in what you eventually were able to do?
Yeah, I mean, the hiatus wasn't on purpose necessarily, you know. My last fight was in July down in Florida. And then I was trying to look for other fights. I got turned down a lot of times. I mean, I kept reaching out to OCL asking to get on different promotions. And I think that they wanted to build up somebody. And originally they offered me, who was it, Jared Campbell. And I took that fight. And then a few days later, he had to drop out because he's a high school wrestling coach. So they offered me Brody, and I took that immediately too. I think that they were trying to get a few guys, you know, a few more wins before they stepped in with me. And the hiatus didn't really bother me at all. You know, I mean, I wanted to fight more often than that, but that's just the way that the Lord's will worked out for me.
Were you surprised by that at 3-1 being able to, I wouldn't say it was like a hard time finding a fight for you, but at 3-1, just having guys maybe not want to take them fight against you?
I'm a little surprised just because we're fighters. Like, I've never thought about turning down a fight. You know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who steps out across from you. It doesn't matter what their resume is or anything like that. Like, a fight's a fight. Anything can happen. You know, it's always one punch away from a win, right? So I am a little shocked. I mean, on one end, it's kind of an honor because it's like, you know, I mean, that must mean something. On the other end, it's kind of like I couldn't see myself ever running from somebody. So I don't fully understand it, but it is what it is.
When it comes to your growth as a mixed martial artist, I hear fighters talk all the time about different periods of time where they grow the most, whether it be in fight camp, the fights themselves and what they learned from that experience, or maybe when they don't really have a fight on the books and are just working hard and getting better everywhere. How valuable was that 7 months hiatus away from the sport in terms of your growth in the sport?
It's valuable just because, you know, when you're in fight camp, although that is where I grow the most, that in you know, the day of the fight and right after the fight and stuff like that. But the fight camp is super important because you're honing in, but it's very nice to have like a mental break from fight camp. You know, when you're in camp, you're like at least, even when sleeping, you're at least like 40% cylinders firing. When you're awake, and especially at training, it's closer to 100, right? So it can be a little mentally exhausting. When you're outside of camp, you can just go work on your craft. You know, life's a little more tranquil. You can take a little more time working through things. The pressure's not as much on yourself to get everything perfect. And that helps a lot too. I mean, I would say that 7-month period was a little too long for my taste, but you know, I thank God for it because I just got to go in, practice, not worry about any particular opponent or game plan, just kind of focus on all the tools that I need to work on.
I mentioned how big of a stage OCL 36 was, and having won your first amateur title, what were the emotions like in the cage after you got that rear naked choke win?
Honestly, man, like all that was going through my head was just thinking like, glory to God, you know. The emotions, like I said, I try not to get too high or too low, you know. It's awesome. I'm not going to lie to you. It feels good to get the victory. But like I said before, you know, right after or in the very beginning of my post-fight interview, I said, you know, the horse is made ready for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. So I try to never get too proud, try to never look at myself like, man, you're the man, you did it. Like, I was just thankful and I just praised God because at the end of the day, he's the one that chooses the winner and loser. You know, everybody's going out there giving it their all. Everybody's dangerous. Everybody's training hard. And, you know, it just matters about what happens on that particular night. And, you know, the Lord gave me the win. So just all glory to him.
I ask this question to pretty much every amateur MMA champion that joins the show because I always get a wide variety of answers. How much stock do you put into this OCL middleweight championship that you now own?
I mean, I want to keep defending it. I put enough stock in it that it's important enough for me to defend. But, you know, it's an amateur title. It's just another notch on my belt. Whether it was for a title or not, I didn't even know it was for a title until like a few days beforehand. A teammate told me. So I reached out to OCL and they said, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's nice. But not really too much. I don't have the belt hanging up or anything. You know, I kind of just pack it away that way that, you know, I don't look at that and think that I've really accomplished something. It's like, it's just part of the journey. And, every fight to me, I look at the person that I'm fighting. He's in my eyes a world champion, and I'm hungry. I'm coming to take that. So, yeah, the belt's nice and everything, but it is what it is.
When you get told like a week before the fight that this is for a title, did it motivate you anymore, or were you already extremely motivated, extremely hungry just by the challenge ahead of you?
Yeah, just the challenge ahead of me. It didn't really change anything at all in my mind. I mean, it is cool, and the people that come to support, they love it and everything. But I think it means a lot more to those around me. Like I said after the fight, man, like that belt doesn't just belong to me. It belongs to my teammates, my coaches, everybody that supports me. It's just as much theirs as it is mine. And so I wouldn't say it motivates me anymore. Because for me, this journey is about like who you become as a man, not really what you get out of it. And above all that is just glorifying the Lord with the gifts that he's given me. And so it's, like I said, it's nice, but it doesn't change anything in my mind.
Talking with Mark Man of Faith Trifelos on Forged in Ohio. Now that we've gone over the title win at OCL, I kind of want to go to the beginning of your career. How did you get your start in combat sports?
So I wrestled my whole life. I kind of got into wrestling because of fighting. I always grew up just admiring MMA and just being tough in general. And, I found out that wrestlers seem to be pretty dangerous dudes. So I got into that, always with the aim of when I got out, I want to fight. I wrestled. I wasn't planning on wrestling in college until about junior year of high school. I got reached out to by a few different schools. And then senior year, Finley gave me a pretty good offer. And so I took that, wrestled through college all the way. And then after that, started training at Demolition Fight Team. And I was training in the off season up there a little bit, but that was a good gym and there were some good guys in there. And I really enjoyed it. Moved back down to Columbus, where I'm originally from, after school was done, found Ronin, and just absolutely fell in love with the gym. And I just knew all along that I was going to get into fighting. And, so I just kind of directly went into that path and then started training there. The coaches took a liking to me. The teammates did as well. And then really the rest is history.
At what point, in life did you really commit yourself to mixed martial arts? Obviously, that kind of came before the wrestling career did, but what point did you actually believe that this was the career path for you?
I would say sophomore year of high school was, I really fell in love with wrestling then. I didn't really love it beforehand because it was really hard. And, you move up from middle school where you're, pretty decent. You get into high school, and then like some of the dudes are 18-year-olds, which when you're 14, they seem like grown men. And, just getting beaten in that room and out on the mat too. But then sophomore year, something just clicked in my head where I was like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm done getting bullied around. Like, I'm going to put all of my eggs in this basket. And, that's how it kind of took off with wrestling for me. Like I said, before that was already like, in my mind, the fighting, but I was like, this is a huge element to fighting that I need to get good at. Like, I can't neglect this and just think I can knock everybody out. Somebody will just grab you. And so, which is funny because it's kind of like what I do now. But, I always admired the way of the warrior. And, I always wanted to go through life knowing that, I'm on the path to becoming a warrior. And I love that journey. I love that lifestyle. And so it's kind of just been ingrained in my soul my entire life. Even when I was a little kid, like I was very into just like the idea of like righteous combat, defending the weak, stuff like that. And so I think it was written on my heart. I don't think it was something I necessarily chose, but that's just the way, I walked into it in life and ended up back in Columbus. And I think this is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
The wrestling pedigree has been so impressive so far in MMA. I'm just curious, though, when it comes to things like striking and boxing, what's it been like to learn those aspects of the sport?
I love it, man. I actually like striking more, which is surprising. In one aspect of it, you kind of fall back to your training. And when you've wrestled your whole life, you're going to fall into that sometimes. But also, too, like a fight's a fight. And so if I know, and I'm there to win, so if I know that I can dominate you on the ground, I'm going to take it there and win. I don't feel like I have to prove anything to anyone, but except for myself. And, I do plan on in the future, I want to strike more and test myself, especially when I know that I can body people. And I know that if push comes to shove, I'll just take you down. I would really like to use my hands more. I think that we're at the point in my career where it's important to start testing that. Before you turn pro, you want to make sure that your hands are there, you're confident in them, just as confident as you would be taking it to the ground. Striking is a lot of fun, though. I like it a lot more. When we spar at the gym, I pretty much always just stay standing just to build the craft. Even the guys that I can take down pretty easy, like I like to test myself with the hands. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of that in the future.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. Is you mentioned confidence there behind your skill set. I know you must be confident what you can do on the ground, and maybe that confidence is coming along. Maybe it's already there in terms of what you can do on the feet. But is that one of the last things that does come along? Of course, you're learning new things every single day and growing your game on the feet. But when it becomes something you're confident in, maybe that's when it goes to the next level.
I would definitely say it's an element of it. I'm pretty confident in it now just because, I know I can take a punch and I know I can lay a punch. But like I said before, it's just if I can take it to the ground and get the finish in the first, I that's what I'm going to do. That's been my mindset up till now. I'm even moving forward. My goal is to win the fight. It's not as fun to the crowd when you take it to the ground and you guys are grappling. But to be completely honest with you, if you guys don't think it's as fun or as cool, you step in here and do it,
Yeah, that's a great point, man. I want to ask about just the background, of course, in wrestling. A lot of fighters that I've had on Forged in Ohio, just in this area, come from that wrestling background. Do you think it's easier getting into MMA with that wrestling background and then learning things like jiu-jitsu and boxing, striking, everything that comes with MMA, or maybe the inverse? What's your perspective on that?
I definitely think that wrestling is the best foundation. And I think that, you see the fruit of the works. Most wrestlers that get into MMA at least do well. They're not all studs, they're not all champions, anything like that, but they're all tough. I think that comes from wrestling practice is like no other practice in the world. It is the most grueling, gritty sport in the world. You don't bow ever. You don't talk during practice. You're not bumping and stuff like that. You just go to war. You put your dirty shoes on, you get on dirty mats, and then you and somebody else or you and other people are trying to kill each other for 2 hours. And that builds a different level of grit in people. And, I think the part of the reason why wrestlers always end up becoming the best fighters is because wrestling and jiu-jitsu too, but there's some elements of jiu-jitsu that I think are a little too nice for fighting. But wrestling, you can go full tilt 100% for 2 hours in a practice. If you're boxing or you're a Muay Thai or something like that, you can't do that. You can't go 100%. Everybody be knocking each other out. Nobody be getting better. But wrestling is one of those things where I can give my 100% all the whole time. So can you. And we see who can dominate who. When we're, sparring and striking, you kind of got to pull punches a little bit. Nobody wants to be that guy that's trying to knock everybody out. So there's an element of that too, but it's really just the grittiness, man. I think that you just develop a different type of grit that other people don't have.
I've had countless fighters from your gym on the show, and here you are, another great prospect out of Ronin Training Center in Columbus. What makes that gym so special, and how much have you grown since training there?
Oh man, that gym really is special. Our coaching staff, first of all, we have the best coaches around. It's amazing. Josh Williams, our head MMA coach, is a diamond in the rough. The fact that he's not somewhere like AKA or something like that blows my mind. Our wrestling coach, Josh Russo, has been a tremendous help. We just brought him on this year, and he's very good at MMA wrestling. I think he wrestled for the Marine Corps national team, but he has a very good system to develop things into wrestling for MMA rather than just wrestling for wrestling. We also have Vitor Oliveira, which is a 5-time world champion jiu-jitsu coach. Boggs and all the other Muay Thai coaches are all phenomenal. I think it has to do with, starts from them. It always starts from the top, right? Phenomenal coaches, and then it's just a gym full of killers, man. Like, I know Immortals around us too. They got a bunch of killers too, but other than us two, I don't really know of any place like it in Ohio, let alone, around Ohio. But yeah, I think it's just, we just have animals in the gym. People are hungry. It's a fighter's gym too. Like, a lot of people, most of the people that I'm around are competing, whether it's in Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and, all of my teammates in MMA. Everybody wants to go out there. Everyone's hungry. And so, we all push each other, and then we have great coaches, and there's really nothing else you can ask for.
Yeah, how helpful is that when you do have that room full of killers? You kind of mentioned it there, just OCL 36, a couple Ronin guys on that card along with yourself. And I know everybody there is super hungry. They're constantly getting on these cards, whether it be OCL or other promotions. Just when everybody's so motivated, so hungry and active, especially, how much does that help you and your growth in this sport?
Definitely helps a lot. You're somewhat kind of a product of your environment. You're only as good as your competition around you. And when these guys all have hunger and, they're focused and they're driven, it really just, it can only help. It pushes me a lot. So super thankful for that. And they're all good too. We're constantly bringing back wins for Ronin, and that's motivating as well, because, you can't be someone that lets the team down.
Once again, this is Mark Man of Faith Trifelos on Forged in Ohio. When it comes to your fights themselves, you lost a close split decision in your amateur debut, and now you're on this 4-fight winning streak all by submission. Were you at all defeated after that debut, or how did you handle that situation in the moment?
No, it could have gone either way, and it was a good fight, a worthy opponent. I think that was his only fight since, but I knew he was tough. And when it came to the loss, I was disappointed. I was disappointed in myself, especially because there was a couple areas where, I was close. Like I think in the second, I had an arm triangle. I gassed my arms out a little bit, but my head was a little bit in the wrong position. And I learned after that fight, and then I actually have a win by arm triangle now. We spent a lot of time after that, but it was motivating. It kind of lit a fire under me that, on one end, I'm not the man. I have a lot of work to do. And on the other end, it showed me I was built for this. It went all 9 minutes against a tough dude. We traded a lot of punches in that. My leg got chewed up pretty good from leg kicks that I was not checking because I was not wise back then. But, I never stopped and kept going. And I would say it motivated me to just get better. A lot of people think, and it really doesn't matter, because the only 3 people that mattered were the judges. A lot of people come to me and tell me that they think I should be 5-0. I just tell them that the Lord's will was for me to lose that one, and so there's a reason for it, and it just made me more hungry at the end of the day, And I also too, I keep those wraps, those hand wraps from that fight. I have them on my desk, and I look at them all the time, because it reminds me, like, you're not unbeatable. It's happened before. It can happen again. If you don't stay locked in, if you don't keep fully committed to this can happen again. So I think it was good for me in the long run. I'm glad I got the loss out of the way early. And yeah, man, it just motivates me to keep working hard.
I'm not sure I've ever heard a story like that, with keeping those hand wraps as a signal of motivation for you. What encouraged you to actually do that?
Actually, I think it was Mark Antonelli from my gym. He told me that he did that one time, and I was like, I like that. It's good. I think it's very good. Just like when I go into a fight with anybody, I told you, I look at them like this is a world champion, and I'm there to take it. I like to have a little element of, I wouldn't call it nerves, but it makes it more serious when you know that, like, this person's dangerous. And I look at the hand wraps the same way, of like, man, you got to be locked in. Like, you can never get too big for your britches, because it's possible for you to lose. It's happened before. But also, like, all the times in my life, whether it's in practice or whatever it is, anytime that I got too proud, or anytime that I thought, like, I'm way better than this person and I don't take them serious, that's when I do the worst. Even if I win, I leave there like, man, I should have taken that more serious, So I like to look at that and have, use that as a motivating factor of like, everybody's dangerous. It can be anyone's day. Like I have to give it 100% all the time or else that will happen again.
What's been the key for this run since that debut of 4 straight wins that you've got since that debut loss?
Man, just relying on the Lord and trusting in him and in my training and the resources he's given me, like my teammates, my coaches, stuff like that, and just always trying to get better. Like I said, this journey is about who you become as a man. It's not about what you accomplish or titles or anything like that. I just want to get better in all aspects of life. I want to be a better Christian man. I want to be a better friend, a better son, better boyfriend, better fighter. And I think that how you do anything is how you do everything. And so this is just another part of my journey and constantly just hungry to get better at everything.
Coming off that loss, would you have thought that winning 4 straight fights like you have, including a middleweight title, would be possible?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I have full faith in the Lord, which allows me to have full faith in myself. And like I said, it's whatever his will is for me. But yeah, I know what I'm capable of. And I never have any doubts in my mind ever. I think anything's possible, and I get my strength from Christ. And so how can you lose?
Yeah, you talked about growing as much of a man as you are as a fighter and everything else in life. Just where you are now to where you were when you debuted in mixed martial arts. How much different are you now? Like this version of Mark Trifelos that I'm talking to now, I'm sure is very different from the one 5 fights ago.
Yeah, 2 completely different people. I viewed myself then, looking back, I viewed myself, kind of still like a boy, stepping into a man's world. There's a lot of elements in my life outside of MMA that I had to square away. And, just through this journey in MMA and the discipline that it's given me and the focus, just like at practice, you get better day by day. It's the same thing outside of it, and they work together. Like I said, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so, as long as I stay focused on this MMA journey, it helps make me focused everywhere else in life as well. When one starts to go, the other kind of goes by the wayside too. So they work hand in hand.
And now every single one of those wins that you have on your record have all come by submission. How have you been able to just have so much success in getting these fights done inside the distance with these chokes?
Man, I see blood in the water and I go after it. So if it goes to the floor, I kind of have a plan of what I'm looking for, but it's more just being a supreme opportunist. Like I think of a lot of the great conquerors throughout history, like Napoleon, and that was his modus operandi, was being just a supreme opportunist. Whether it's an army or a single opponent, whatever they give you, that's what you take, you run with that. So, if you can hold somebody down and they can't escape, that helps a lot. It opens up a lot of things. You can start hitting them and then other things will open up. So that's what I do. And then I see what they give me. If I see that, I can stretch them out and they open up their neck and I'm on their back with boots in, I'm going to go for that rear naked choke and I'm not going to stop until I get it. Just like with Brody, he was doing a great job peeling the arm. I was on his back with my arm around his neck probably for 30 seconds and he kept peeling that other arm and stuff. But I was like, no, when I'm around you, like I'm taking it. And it's kind of just how I do it.
This might be a silly question because you can't complain about 4 submission wins, but being 4-1 with 4 submission wins, are you craving your first knockout or do you not really think about that?
I mean, I'm definitely craving it. I really do. I really do desire to have a knockout, but like you said, you can't really complain about 4 submissions. If I can keep stopping people, especially good, worthy opponents, however they need stopped is how I want to do it. But yeah, I'm definitely, I want to highlight real knockout coming up here.
Your fight on March 1st only lasted 1 minute and 37 seconds. Can we expect you to get back in there soon, or what do you think is next for yourself?
Yeah, I'm assuming they're going to want me to defend the title soon. I definitely want to hop back in soon. Didn't take any damage in the fight. and I'm still hungry. And so whenever I really get a call up again, I'm going to take it.
Yeah. Do you imagine a very, active 2025 for yourself, or have you given much thought to what this year could hold?
I was taking one fight at a time. I would like an active 2025, but one fight at a time. I don't like to look too far ahead. My next conquest is just whoever they call me up and give me, and then I'll worry about the next one after that, right? So we'll see, Lord willing.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see you back in there, man. Before we wrap up, I just want to give you the opportunity to shout out or mention anything you want to here on Forged in Ohio.
Yeah, I want to shout out my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I get my strength from you. I want to shout out my teammates and my coaches. I can't thank you guys enough. I couldn't do this without you. And just all those who support me.
All right. Well, thanks again, Mark, for joining the show. Like I do with all guests at the end of these episodes, I enjoy doing the infamous OHIO chant. So if you could help me out here, OH.
IO.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate the time. Congrats on winning your first title, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish next.
Thank you, brother. God bless you.
That was Mark Man of Faith Trifelos, the 4-1 amateur mixed martial artist and OCL's newest middleweight champion. This episode probably mirrored a lot of last week's with Kyle Barga, as it's always great to see these prospects break through on the amateur scene by winning their first title. And for Mark Trifelos, he's obviously a very impressive fighter, and he has one hell of a team behind him from Ronin Training Center in Columbus, Ohio. A few reminders here at the end of episode 113. Don't forget to download episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. That helps me out more than you know, along with liking these videos and subscribing to the YouTube channel if you prefer to watch Forged in Ohio. And you can take your support to the next level by getting merchandise. The store is linked in the podcast description, or you can find it on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Forged in Ohio. Thank you all for watching or tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.